have started the recording of the meeting, so we're going to hand it over to you.
Thank you so much, Tasha. I will call the meeting for August the 26th, 2020 to order, and I will also defer that, Alex, to you since we will be doing this virtually.
Yeah, so the first thing we need to do is what we've done in previous meetings. We need to have a motion to have this electronic meeting electronically. Essentially, the motion would be that that the proposed agenda constitutes essential business of this body, and the meeting electronically is necessary for the health, safety, and well-being of Tennesseans in light of the COVID-19 outbreak.
Okay, thank you, Alex. And I will call the roll and just state your name.
Okay. Let's go ahead and can we go ahead and make someone needs to make that motion, someone needs to second it, all that.
And yes. So when you make the motion, just say your name before you make the motion. So may I get a motion for approval of the virtual meeting? Can you hear me?
I so move that we have a virtual meeting.
Thank you. And could you state your name?
Okay.
Thank you, Brenda. And may I get a second?
Angela, you may be muted.
I'm having technical difficulties.
We can hear you, Angela. Do you second the motion?
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry. I second the motion. It's Angela Crane Jones.
Thank you, Angela. And all in favor, that would be me, yes, Priscilla Norman. And could you state yes again in your name, please?
Angela Crane Jones.
Brenda Baca, yes.
Thank you. So we will move forward with the meeting. Thank you, Alex. The Nashville Farmers Market Board meeting will take place, of course, via WebEx. If you would like to join via phone, please call 415-655-0002. When prompted for the meeting, access code enter 146-279-5355, followed by the pound. And when prompted, press the pound to indicate you are an attendee. If the link does not work, please go to nashville.webex.com and enter 146-279-5355 in the join meeting text box and hit enter. Fill in your information on the right-hand side, enter the event password, which is 3934, and then click join now. If you would like to join to make public comment, please use the comment line during the event, which is 629-255-1963. As far as any announcements, as information for our audience, if you are not satisfied with the decision made by the Farmers Market Board today, you may appeal the decision by petitioning for a writ of cert with the Davidson County Chancery or Circuit Court. Your appeal must be filed within 60 days of the date of the entry of the board's decision. To ensure that your appeal is filled in a timely manner and that all procedural requirements have been met, please be advised that you should contact your own independent legal counsel. With public comments, individuals requesting to address the board will be limited to 3 minutes unless granted more time by the board chair. Each person authorized to speak is expected to state her or his name and address and the organization represented, if any. And if the speaker reads from prepared text, please provide a copy to the board staff. Are there any announcements or public comments at this time?
Priscilla, this is Tasha.
Yes.
I do want to give some updated information because our live call-in number is correct.
Okay.
That number is 629-255-1963. I do want to give some updated information about the meeting ID and the PIN because it has changed. So I'll read that aloud real fast. If the link that was published in the agenda does not work, you will go to nashville.webex.com. You will enter the meeting ID of 146-008-7522. And you will enter, you'll fill in your information on the right-hand side, and then you will enter the event password, which is 9352. And then you will click Join Now. And as of right now, we do not have any anyone on the call-in line, and that call-in line number has remained the same for each one of our calls and was also distributed to our merchant community and posted on our agenda.
Okay, thank you, Tasha. And if we get any during the meeting, just let us know. We can get that in there, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. We will move forward for the approval of the July 22nd, 2020 regular meeting minutes. May I get a motion for approval? And again, please state your name and the motion.
I guess I'd rather have Angela move to approve because I wasn't there, but
I move to approve. It's Angela.
Thank you. And I, Priscilla, will second that motion, Priscilla Norman. Okay.
Hey, Priscilla, can you go ahead and take the vote? I know it's only two of you and that'll count,
Yeah.
but just say yes for both of you.
Okay, sure. So Priscilla Norman, yes, for the vote for approval of the minutes.
Angela Carter, yes, approval for the minutes.
Thank you, Angela.
Brenda Baker, yes, approval for the minutes.
Moving forward, we will move toward the financial overview and the fee waivers.
Okay, Maria is going to walk you guys through the financial overview, which will include a summary of FY20 and year-to-date FY21 and total fund balance for each one of our accounts.
Okay, so I'm going to take this in three different phases. So first, I'll talk about FY20 and do a short recap. Please let me know if you have any questions when I'm finished. We're going to start with revenue. We originally projected to bring in $1.5 million in revenue. We ended up with actuals of $1,086,771. So we are about $420,000 off our goal of our projected revenue. To supplement that projected revenue, we typically utilize our special fund balance. Last year, we projected to use $543,800. We ended up using $1 million of that capital fund. So we used $456,000 more than projected. The reason for that gap in revenue, there are various reasons for that gap in revenue, including the waived rent during the initial 6 weeks of the COVID closure, some past due rent as well that will be collected in FY21, as well as other areas where revenue was less than projected. So that's kind of a short recap on revenue. Does anyone have any questions on those numbers?
Just one that you were saying that the gap was, of course, with the COVID and then the past due rent. And what was the other?
There were just a couple other areas where revenue was less than projected. Some spaces that didn't go or that went without getting leased.
Yes.
Longer than we had projected, and maybe some gaps in leases as well where we were waiting for a new tenant to take over.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
No problem. As far as expenses, we came in right under budget. Our budget, as I should have started with, is $2,052,300. Our expenses came in at $2,008,000. We did overspend in a few areas that we're working to kind of refine over the next fiscal year. Those three main areas are security, janitorial, and repair and maintenance expenses. And those increases in expenses were offset by salary savings. Does anyone have any questions about the expenses for FY20?
No, not at this time. Thank you.
Okay. So that's kind of a short recap for FY20. Feel free to reach out to me with any questions about where our revenue ended up, or as well as our expenses, and I'll send you this short summary after the meeting. I'm going to do a quick review of just this past month, July of FY21. We're only 1 month into the year, so obviously the total numbers are small. In July, we brought in $75,593.78 in revenue, and the operating expenses for that same period were $45,359.12. I'm going to move right into the status of some of our funds, our fund balances. So the three main fund balances we're currently working with is a remaining balance from the FY17 capital project. The original budget for that project was $3 million. The majority was spent in 2017 through 2019, but we currently have a remaining balance of $150,000. We also have a small remaining balance from the HVAC replacement. The original budget for that project was $1.2 million, and we currently have a remaining balance of $34,504, and that is due to a credit from the TVA, an energy credit. The last fund that I previously discussed is our fund balance that we use to supplement our revenue. We originally had $3 million in that fund, and we started utilizing it in 2016. As I stated, we used an additional $450,000 that was not projected in FY20, and we currently have a balance of $700,538. Are there any questions on those fund balances?
What was the remaining balance? It was 700.
538.
Thank you.
Ask a couple.
Oh, go ahead.
Can I ask, so looking forward, our projected revenue is less than $1 million, projecting from what we collected in July. Is that sort of where we are? Or do you think a projected revenue for the year to come, are the reasons to think it'll be more than that?
I believe that our projected revenue will be well over $1 million this year. We do have about $65,000 in past due rent that still needs to be collected. A lot of this is due to the payment plans we offered that we've discussed in previous board meetings for COVID-19 relief for our indoor market house merchants. So I believe that with the fund balance as well as our current projected revenue, we should be able to cover our operating budget for FY21.
Thanks.
But it is likely that the fund will be depleted this year, which it was supposed to cover FY21 and FY22. Are there any other questions at this time? If there are no other questions, okay. If there are no other questions, that is the end of our financial overview.
Thank you, Maria, for the information.
Thank you, Priscilla.
And may I get a motion, and again, state your name before the motion, for the approval of the financial overview?
This is Angela Crane Jones. I motion to approve.
Thank you.
I second.
And we will do the vote. I, Priscilla Norman, yes, approve.
I, Angela Crane Jones, yes, approve.
Yes, approved.
Thank you. We will move forward, Tasha, with the COVID operations and small business relief opportunities.
Okay, I want to give a quick update on our progress as we're working with both the city and the state on COVID relief funding opportunities, as well as talk about some of the modifications that we're working towards for our operations. As a reminder, we are still in phase 2. The city is projecting or currently planning to remain in phase 2 through the end of August. And as we approach next week, there will be an announcement about whether or not we're staying in a modified phase 2 or progressing into a phase 3. I want to make sure that everyone understands that the health department is evaluating the original phased plan and how it impacts businesses being able to operate, organizations as well. There may be a modification to the written documented plan that was originally published. They've demonstrated their willingness to do that. So we are in communication with the health department. We're actually working with them right now to have the interior area of the market house classified as a food court rather than a large event venue. Currently, our facility is classified as a large event venue with an exception to operate the farmers market as an essential operation and the individual businesses as restaurants. So we're working towards getting it classified as a food court with the plan that as we enter phase 3, we will reintroduce limited indoor seating. We are working towards that goal of introducing that as we enter phase 3. We do not know if seating will be allowed at a 50 or 75% capacity. And what we are doing is we are limiting it based on our ability to social distance the seating inside and limit seating areas to no more than 4 persons per seating area, socially distanced within 6 feet. We're also introducing new furniture. When we do that, we did receive approval for the purchase of new furnishings for the market house that will allow us to maintain and sanitize the environment better than we were able to do so with our existing furniture package. And so we are, again, working towards accomplishing that. That has been announced to our merchant community. It, of course, has been met with great enthusiasm, and everyone is looking forward to it. We do have several merchants, including Natchez Hill Winery, Bella Nashville, and the Picnic Tap, that have reintroduced the seating that is within their leased space. We approved that for each one of them a little over a month ago, and they have rolled that out very well. They're managing sanitation, seating, spacing requirements, and limited capacity within their own teams, and we haven't had any issues to date. The Picnic Tap is also beginning to schedule socially distanced patio events with live music. They're working with Bella Nashville, Bubble Love, Natchez Hill Winery, and I believe BNC Barbecue to help promote those events primarily on Fridays and Saturdays to help them with their evening foot traffic. We also have a variety of merchants that have requested an opportunity to extend beyond the 4 p.m. operations at the market. And so effective this week, we are resuming our accessibility to the market house until 8 p.m. As we were pre-COVID, and we're allowing those merchants to operate beyond 4 p.m. As they again try to get back to more normal operations and increase their foot traffic and revenue earning opportunities. I mentioned the new furniture. We're also in the process of procuring and implementing the ionizer for the HVAC system. That was also approved with CARES funding. This will improve the sanitation of the fresh air makeup coming into our facility. We've been approved to purchase some additional sanitation equipment that we're currently having to rent or that we do not have access to. So Charles is working through the procurement of that equipment. We have two major pending facility requests that have not been discussed with the CARES committee to date. We've been working with Mary Jo in the finance department on these requests, and we have a follow-up meeting with her, a conference call tomorrow at 11 a.m. She has reported back to me that department-specific requests have not been discussed at great length with the committee, the CARES funding committee at this time. What they're trying to do right now is they've done a housing allocation. They've done a nonprofit allocation. This week, they're in discussion for the second meeting with small business training centers and organizations, including the Nashville Business Incubation Center, on developing some small business relief opportunities. Once they're finished with that, they will begin moving into other areas of community relief as well as Metro Department requests. That said, our request for the $1 million rent relief and training program is wrapped up in the Metro Department request. It appears to be separate from the small business conversations that are going on right now, and I hope to have an update on that timeline whenever I meet with Mary Jo in the morning. That $1 million, as a recap, that $1 million request was to provide approximately $500,000 in rent relief for the time period through December 31st of 2020 to active participating merchants at the Nashville Farmers Market. This includes all merchant types. And then the other $500,000 would include funding for small business education, training, and contingency planning that would be provided by the Nashville Business Incubation Center. This is to be in addition to other activities that training and incubation programs and organizations will be providing to the greater Nashville small business community. So again, we're waiting on an update about that. The other two proposals that are included are more facility operations related. We have a request in for automating all of the entrances to the market house to reduce contact of visitors and service providers and merchants. And then we have a farm shed infrastructure proposal that would also provide additional infrastructure, including hand washing stations, 3-compartment sinks, enclosure, and additional sanitation areas in the farm sheds. Both of those proposals are still pending review. Should our request be approved, any of them, the $1 million relief package, the door automation, or the farm shed infrastructure project, we would have to expend those funds prior to December 31st of 2020. And so we are trying to stay on top of these requests and try to get them moved through this committee's review as quickly as possible. If you have any interest in reaching out to anyone on that committee to discuss our proposal, our needs, or advocate for their support of them, let me know. I'll be more than happy to send you the information for that committee, and I welcome your encouragement. We have also applied to a new state fund that was announced on August 17th. We applied last week. This particular fund is specific to agriculture, and it is being managed through the Department of Agriculture at the state of Tennessee. We were able to submit a request for revenue loss to that fund, and so we utilized the aging report from the COVID operations period beginning in March to through October. That was the term that they allowed us to evaluate, and we submitted a report to them demonstrating a projected $320,000 revenue loss for that time period and requested funding for that. We were also able to submit a request for capital funding. The state is looking for organizations, farms, and nonprofit partners to help improve the local supply chain. And so we submitted a request in partnership with other organizations to help develop a new commercial kitchen space at the Nashville Farmers Market that would provide both dry, cold, and food preparation areas for the preservation of locally produced foods. And this would be value add and food production extension work. That funding request also included operating funds for a grant-funded position. They're going to be reviewing all of these requests in the month of September, and we're hopeful to hear back about our proposal by the end of September. And I'll be reaching out to you if we find out sooner than our next board meeting. We are, clearly being impacted by COVID. I don't think that is a shock to anybody. It's having a significant impact on our foot traffic inside the market house. The outdoor areas of the market, including Gardens of Babylon and the farm sheds, are performing okay. I wouldn't say that they're performing great. We have had some merchants choose not to retail as many days or not to retail due to COVID this summer, and that has impacted our revenue. We also have merchants that have chosen to delay, that are either still waiting for us to move into phase 3 or phase 4 before they rejoin and restart their market operations. And that has also had an impact on our revenue. We suspect that this will continue for the remainder of this fiscal year. And so we're going to be going through a significant exercise of expense reduction this fiscal year due to the impact of COVID. And Maria alluded to it in her financial overview discussion, but we are looking at our major categories where we have an opportunity to reduce expenses by evaluating our contractual services for those areas. And so we are looking at our contracts. We will likely have to put contracts or services out to bid because we are utilizing the Metro contract providers for our major expense categories, which include janitorial and security services. And we're also looking at our refuse contract to see, as it's a growing area of increased expenses due to zero waste management, we're looking to see if we can combine services into a provider to reduce our expenses. We're also continuing to hold, while the hiring freeze for Metro has lifted, we are continuing to hold positions so that we can ensure that we are able to cover our expenses and not exceed our projected deficit so that our reserve fund can cover our deficit for this fiscal year. So we're looking at all of our different areas where we have ability to reduce, and we're doing that in Q1 so that we can have the greatest impact on the fiscal year. Charles has already made some significant reductions in some of those expense areas within our existing contracts. But again, we are going to try to move forward in some long-term savings by moving off of those Metro-wide contracts. The businesses inside the market house have continued to express concerns about the foot traffic in the market house. We have added additional signage. We have increased the amount of paid social media that we're doing. We're also, I think I alluded to this in our last board meeting, we're shifting how we're utilizing our advertising fund to be able to get more return for our investment, and we are highlighting the market house offerings as we make that shift to try to improve that consumer confidence, to one, to know that the market house is open, and two, to demonstrate that the market house is a safe and healthy, accessible area for the community to come to and support local small businesses. Many of the market house businesses have increased their efforts to communicate to the community that they are open, but there is still a great opportunity for them to invest in their businesses and make sure that they're doing everything that they can to reach customers now that, you know, there's really not an opportunity to rely on the magic traffic that had been kind of dumped into the market from the tour buses and the state office workers that are currently working remotely. So we're keeping a steady hand on that. We're trying to help them as much as we can and trying to offer them ideas and opportunities that we're seeing across the community that are effective and working. And I think that would conclude where I'm at on COVID right now. Does the team have anything you want to add on COVID before we move forward? Okay. That's it.
Okay, thank you, Tasha, for all of those updates. Thank you. And we will move forward with the executive director's report. And in that, Tasha, will you please have time for Heather to introduce herself to all of us? And we would like to say welcome, Heather, to the Farmers Market as our program coordinator. We're happy to have you.
Happy to be here. So to talk a little bit about myself, I have been involved in the food world in a few different ways. Like a lot of people, I started as a server and bartender working in Arizona. After I graduated journalism school from ASU in 2011, I became a food critic and a food editor. After working for publications for about 7 years, I helped a local grower distribution company start up in Southern Arizona by providing marketing, events, branding, and public relations support. After that, I was a chef for about 4 years in Arizona and DC. The last position I had before this one, I was actually a contracted chef and coordinator for World Central Kitchen in DC and in Tijuana. Excuse me? I just moved to Nashville in June with my sister. Overall, I'd say I'm really excited to dig into the market's current programs to help promote food systems in Nashville. So yeah, I look forward to meeting everyone.
Thank you again. And Tasha, will you follow up with the executive director's report or anything else you would like to add regarding Heather?
Well, we are thrilled to have Heather join our team. You know, we're on week 2, and she's fitting right in. I was telling Maria yesterday that it feels like she's been a part of our team since the very beginning, and that's just a great feeling. You know that our team has been stretched very thin since January, and we're already seeing ways that Heather is contributing immediately, and so welcome. We're so glad to have you here. We're very excited to hand over what's good to Heather over the coming weeks. She's developing ways to help promote and increase the participation with our What's Good online ordering app. We are continuing to see sales from the What's Good online ordering app increase almost weekly. There are some flat weeks, but in general, our order count is going up and our order summaries are going up. The merchants that are participating in the online app are happy with the results that they're getting right now. We do need to do some development to get farmers ready for the fall season on the What's Good app as their products transition, and so that'll be one of the things that she's working on. We have another opportunity working with a funder in Nashville that has expressed interest in funding food security work through the Nashville Farmers Market. They're very interested in our Fresh Bucks program, as well as how they can extend a voucher program to at-risk families that would increase access to fresh, healthy produce for more community members in the greater Nashville area. So we are working with them. That'll be another project that Heather really takes the lead on to try to help us develop this funding opportunity and expand our Fresh Bucks program. This would be a multi-year grant if we were able to get it, and so we will work through the Metro grant processes to make sure that we have completed all those necessary processes and we have all parties involved. So Dustin, I know you're on the call. You should anticipate hearing from us soon, as well as the rest of the grants team. A few other updates. So I want to make sure that we're staying on top of tornado build back work as well. We've had it as an agenda item for our board meetings. That work is wrapping up. It has been a long wrap-up period, mainly because there have been discoveries as we go through the walkthrough process on the roof that have been outstanding. And so Mike Martin with Capital Project Solutions has been instructed by our team to have all of those outstanding issues completed this month. And then we'll have hopefully a wrap-up meeting with them in September to confirm that all those items have been completed. Now, that includes the original restoration work from the tornado impact. We do have 2 other projects that kind of were spurred out of the tornado restoration work. We have the Grow Local Kitchen fire damage. We are, this week, have concluded the insurance claim backup report that we had to provide to their insurance provider. And so that has all been submitted, and then the follow-up report has been completed as of Monday. And then once that claim is completed, we will receive funding for the build back of the Grow Local Kitchen. And then we will begin to procure those services to complete that project. Our claim did include lost revenue for that program from the period of the date of the incident through the end of this calendar year, December 31st of 2020. And then a second project that came out of the tornado rebuild work was the flooding that took place in early June due to the roofer scope of work where the protective layer was not laid down while they were doing roof repair work, and we had rain damage in the market house. That insurance claim has also been completed, and we are waiting on the individual payout checks to the merchants that were impacted, any product damage that they had or revenue loss that they experienced. If they submitted it to us, which all but one party submitted those claims to us, it has now been submitted and received by the insurance provider, and individual checks will be cut directly to those merchants as well as to the market for damages incurred due to that event. And so hopefully when we join you at the September board meeting, we'll be able to conclude our tornado build back project. Of course, that's the physical work. There's still a great amount of work that Maria never imagined she would be doing when she accepted a promotion as our finance manager in December. She has been learning a lot about FEMA and TEMA and reporting processes for Metro government when it comes to disaster recovery work. And so that will be a long-term assignment for her that will likely go through next fiscal year as they wrap up the funding allocations from FEMA related to the tornado and the city's recovery process. We're also doing everything that we can to, well, everything we can within the COVID regulations to try to normalize our operations and bring back some of the things that that provide excitement, promotion, and increase awareness at the Nashville Farmers Market. So we're beginning to evaluate opportunities to do night market type events. October is the 10th anniversary of night market, and we're evaluating how we might be able to do something in October that's on a very small scale. A lot of that will depend upon what occurs in September. If we're not in phase 3 and moving towards or in phase 4 in October, the likelihood that we'll be able to do a night market event will be very limited. So we're trying to watch that closely and plan accordingly. We are also in the transition shift for fall at the Nashville Farmers Market. I know it's still like 90 degrees outside, but fall crops are beginning to come in. We will have a new pumpkin provider this year. Our team went out to their farm yesterday. Hancock Family Farms is stepping into the gap as Grady Swafford begins to wind down his retail operations at the Nashville Farmers Market. Hancock Family Farms has been stepping into that role over the past few years. So he'll be offering a large variety of pumpkins and mums at the market this fall. And the Simons Family Farm will be coming into the market the first week of September with mums and pumpkins as well. So we're excited that we're going to be able to continue that tradition of being a destination for families throughout the greater Middle Tennessee area during the fall season. And I think that with the addition of the mums and the pumpkins, we all know that's a high traffic time for the market. I think that that will benefit everybody retailing at the market over the next 2 months. So. You guys have anything else you want to add? Maria's coming over, so hang on just a second.
So I know I talked a lot in the financial overview, which is maybe why I didn't take the opportunity to emphasize the state of accounts. I do want to just make a statement about some of the past due accounts. While we have continued to provide payment plan opportunities, there are still a few merchants that are starting to fall behind and have not been able to make those payments. Those payment plans run through, for the majority of merchants except one, run through the end of September. So in the next board meeting, I'll give a more in-depth overview of those accounts, as I do think we will need to discuss how to move forward with those businesses should they still carry a large balance. But I just wanted to make sure that was included. Let me know if you have any other questions about the specific past due accounts.
Thank you, Maria. And Tasha, did you have anything else, or were you finished with yours as well?
That's it. You know, I want to just echo what Maria said. It's important that we stay on top of the past due accounts, and I want to make sure there's clarity in what she's stating. There are merchants that we're not talking about past due carryover from them not taking their step increase. We're talking about merchants that have actively not been able to make their payment plan payments on a consistent basis for July and August. And there's concern that that trend will continue into September. And the way we're set up right now is we're on a quarterly process where we're allowing them to break up that quarter into small increments. They can pay weekly, they can pay every other week, they can, you know, break it up into a big payment here and smaller payments here. She's been very, very flexible with them, but we are seeing some concern with some of the merchants that have either skipped a payment that they needed to make, or they haven't been able to meet the obligations of those payments to the full amount. So they're kind of continuing to defer a balance to a later date. All of that will come due on September 30th. And we'll, you know.
So has there been communication with those merchants when they're not paying as they had said that they would? Are they communicating back with you when you reach out to them?
There has been a steady stream of communication, and there has been a very clear invoicing process utilized. Maria has been very detailed with them. We will continue to invoice them to make sure that they're aware of their balance due, and we'll continue to put term dates on those invoices so that they know that that balance is due by the end of September. We do suspect that some of those will want the same opportunity in Q2, which starts October 1st and runs through December 31st. I'm not an advocate of rolling Q1 balances into Q2. I think we need to be very careful about deferring owed rent, and we understand that this is a challenging time for everybody, but we need to be able to collect within the quarter, and if they're in good standing, we can continue to offer them opportunities on a payment plan by quarter. If, you know, and if the board feels differently from that, we do need to hear from you. But that's been the strategy that we've been utilizing so far this fiscal year.
Okay, so as the communication from us, of course, we're doing that and sending the invoices, but are they communicating back as to why they're still having this difficulty? We know we know what's going on, but are they at least communicating with you to let you know anything?
I mean, there's a level of communication. Okay. And I mean, there might be a small portion, like for example, like say there's a small portion of rent being paid of their monthly rent. I mean, we just, as an organization, we will have to decide whether saying that their revenue is so low that they can't pay rent, how to move forward with that. I mean, if they're telling us they can only pay half their rent for the last 3 months, I think we need to make a decision if that is financially responsible to move forward with that tenant.
And so, Priscilla, I think what you're asking is, are the merchants communicating the why? And,
yes.
And it's all over the place.
Okay.
We have some merchants that are articulate and able to communicate what's going on, and they're advocating for relief. You know, they're asking when this CARES relief package is going to be reviewed and if it's going to be approved, and the majority of our merchants have applied for every relief fund available to them. We only have 2 merchants that when we asked them to complete a survey about the state of what they have done to request relief funding from the federal and the state programs offered, we only had 2 merchants that did not communicate in that survey. And we gave them ample time to communicate. The great majority of the merchants, when they turned in that survey, communicated that they had applied for more than 3 different relief funding opportunities. Most were in the process of applying to the new state small business fund that had just been established when we communicated that survey, and most have now received that funding. And so we're in a position to know, based on the survey work that we've done, you know, what have they done to try to get aid and relief for their business, and then kind of compare that to where are they at with their rent account with us, because those relief funding opportunities are designed to help them meet payroll obligations and mortgages and, you know, rent.
Yes.
So they're getting those relief opportunities and they're not paying their rent. That's an issue. So we'll be able to go through the summaries of each tenant and check off, okay, this tenant got everything, but yet they still owe us X thousand dollars. What's going on with them? You know, why are they unable to pay their rent? Most are going to tell us that it's because of the reduced foot traffic and sales based on the lunch crowd, the depleted lunch crowd. You know, we're doing everything we can from a marketing perspective to help them with that. But, you know, COVID is what COVID is. What Maria and I are most concerned about, I think I can speak for everybody in this room, is that we have to get to a point where, as an organization, we have to make a decision if a merchant is not sustainable and they're not going to be in a position to make their rent payments and meet their obligations in the short term. What is that long-term impact? You know, is it time to offer a 30-day term for that merchant, or does the board want to see us provide additional relief? And unfortunately, we are not in a cash position to provide any additional relief other than payment plans. And so we need to see their adherence to that payment plan obligation in order to continue to support them.
May I ask a question? This is Brenda.
Yes.
So how many merchants in the merchant house? And I know there's many, they're in different positions. They're not all in the same position. But how many merchants do you think are really seem to be unable or unwilling to meet their obligations? Just so we get some idea. Is it like 2 or is it like 6?
It's quite the range. There's some that are carrying a small balance. That might be, a small balance is kind of what I would consider less than one rent payment or less. I mean, I would say that's about 5 merchants, and then we have another 5 that owe us more than 1 rent payment as of August. So, like I said, might come in the next few days, but including August, they owe more than 1 rent payment.
Well, that is that's really, this is going to be a very difficult situation because, you know, empty businesses may be worse for us than businesses who can't pay their rent. I don't know. It's going to be a hard thing to figure out, isn't it?
Yes, it's going to be very difficult to figure out. I do think that we need to spend time as an organization, you as a board, trying to discern, you know, at what point do we no longer have the ability to wait for it to come? And that's one reason why, you know, we're trying to lay out where we're at with our fund balances. You know, we've got enough in our fund balance to cover our projected deficit of this year. But if we get to the end of this fiscal year and we're still waiting on $300,000 to come in, we'll have to go to Metro Council for a supplement because we will have missed our projected revenue. And I think we have to pay attention to this early in the fiscal year. I do agree with you, Brenda, an empty building is worse. It's hard to recruit at this time of our economy. It's hard to get businesses, even those that have found ways to be successful. It's hard to get them ready to make an investment in a new business right now or a new location. So we have to weigh all the factors, you know, be good stewards of the taxpayer dollars, be good stewards of the resources that we have, while also supporting these businesses that are hemorrhaging right now. You know, and we want to make sure that we're supporting them, but not to the detriment of the viability of the Nashville Farmers Market as well. So it's a difficult situation. You know, I just had this conversation with, you know, with the mayor's office. I've had this conversation with the vice mayor recently of, you know, the predicament that we're in. We want to help and support these businesses, and we want to see them make it through this. But we also have to make sure that the market is financially viable at the same time. So,
yeah.
You know,
Let me ask one other question. Does putting a, I mean, not that we're planning to do this right now, but I think we're all knowing what's coming down the pike. Does putting a business out save us any money?
no, it does not.
So that's, you know, you get into these problems where we need to protect our revenue and people aren't meeting their obligations for our revenue, partly because they can't or won't or whatever combination in a terrible time. And yet putting them out of business because they're not meeting our revenue doesn't help our revenue either, or our expenses. So I'm just saying this is very complicated, and I'm not a business person, and I kind of don't, this is going to be very difficult to know. Although this will be a way to make a case to the council for additional funds.
And also, Maria, if you could get the list that you have and get that to us maybe by the end of next week. So for our September board meeting, we will already know and have that information of who we really need to be focused on and what those possible steps could be.
Yeah, I can get that to you.
Thank you.
Are you most interested in those few, I guess, high need accounts, or you kind of want an overall overview?
Definitely. Yes, that's what I was going to say. Definitely, we could do the high needs first. If you need to break it down, if you could get that to us the first week, and maybe the lower ones the second. But if you could just give it all to us so that we could have that. and we
Okay,
can have
yeah, I
in
can get that to
mind.
you the first week of September. A lot of merchants are making payments at the end of the month. That's why it's a little kind of strange to report at the board meeting about, or I get a little confused reporting out towards the end of the month. A lot are making in that last week right now.
Right.
So I'll get that to you the first week of September.
Yeah, so by the end of the first week of September, that will be fine. That would give you enough time to get the information for the ones that are going to pay at the end of the month for August.
Yeah, I can do that.
Thank you.
So we'll send that to you in the first week of September, and then the week of the board meeting, she'll send you an update that Monday or Tuesday prior to the board meeting in September, so that you can see if any accounts have changed.
Yes, great.
And then in that September board meeting, you know, we should definitely have a discussion. We need to be prepared to have a discussion about any action we need to take on rent deferral programs, as well as any tenants that are in a difficult position, and what we're either able to offer them or what next steps may be.
Yes, thank you, Tasha. Anything else? Does anyone or any other board members have anything else to add, or any other questions?
No, thank you. I think, as I say, this is very difficult. I think I'm going to be very interested in Angela's take on this, because she's in the middle of small businesses all the time, so.
Yes, I agree. Well, with that information and nothing else, no other questions, we will adjourn this meeting. Thank you, everyone, for your time, and have a great afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you.